Good morning, everyone. I have a bit of a slow wake up. I meant to start this about an hour ago, but my stomach had other plans, so taking it slowly today. Hope you're all doing well. This is my debut for this VTuber model that you see. I'm actually pretty proud of it. I made it myself. Pardon me. Trying to stay hydrated. I am Vistraz. I am the reason for your satanic panic. I don't know. I'm just I'm trying to stay awake. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about. Sorry, I didn't know scratching my nose would make me shake so violently. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about D&D and primarily how to be a dungeon master. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, mainly because if my dumbass can do it, I'm pretty sure anyone can do it. And I forget a lot of stuff. I hope that my Streamlabs isn't too loud. I'll turn it down just a little bit. Maybe not that low. Okay, we'll keep it there. But yeah, I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. I keep hearing that there's a lot of there's a dungeon master shortage. I don't know how true that is, but I know there's a lot of hesitation for people who want to play D&D, especially if they have no one who can be a dungeon master, and people feel scared to be a dungeon master. So I just wanted to talk about it and go over some of the parts that people think are scary but really aren't once you just take a hard look at things. So yeah, I'm just gonna dive into that. Oh, excuse me. You're gonna see me twitch and tweak a bit. It is 5 in the morning here. I've been getting up at 3 for a new job, so yeah, let's dive into the main reason we're here today. Being a DM, and possibly the scariest part of being a dungeon master, is improvising. Improvising is, I think, the most important tool in a dungeon master's tool set. If you can improvise, you will be fine with anything. Anything that happens in your campaign, you can handle it. What is improvising? Well, it's honestly just coming up with stuff on the fly, thinking on your feet, pretty much. And I'm going to pull my notes over here so I'm not constantly staring off in different directions. Shrink, damn you. Okay, now extend, damn you. Center, damn you. Okay. Improvising. I did improvisational comedy classes in college. You don't have to take those to be a good dungeon master, although I highly recommend it. It's just a fun time, if nothing else. You get to play make-believe and do a bunch of wacky scenes, and honestly just have fun if you have a good improv class. But the most important thing that we're going to take out of that improv class is the key phrase yes and. If you are any kind of interested in Dungeons and Dragons or a dungeon master at all, you've probably heard this phrase mentioned by other dungeon masters, and that's because it always builds your scene. No matter what you do, or I guess describe in a scene, you have a way to constantly keep building that scene upward and upward, and honestly just building up your players as you go. Yes anding is the most important part of improvising, and if you are afraid to improvise, I hate to say it, but no matter how much prep you put into being a dungeon master, you're gonna have to improvise. A key example that I can point to is my last, not exactly my last session, because we've played since then. But the like 2 sessions ago, I had planned a quest for my players to go on because they accepted a quest from an NPC, and I was expecting them to go do that quest. I had everything planned. I had the tables, the encounters, I had everything planned. Yeah, and they ended up doing something entirely different and something entirely unplanned. And I did not want to sit there and say, "Oh, no, you can't do this. You have to stick to what I made." And so with that, I was like, "Okay, I guess we're doing this." And they, luckily, it was something I had already run. They had to go back and grab like a chest of supplies that they forgot. Um, and well, they had already cleared the dungeon that they had gone through. So I'm gonna show my hand for any of my players that are watching. I basically just ran the encounter again. So what I'm currently running is the Lost Mines of Phandelver Shattered Obelisk module. So at the beginning of that module, your party gets ambushed by goblins. They can go to the Goblin Cave, where the ambushing goblins came from, and clear out the dungeon. That is what my players did. While they're in that dungeon or that cave, they come across stolen shipments from a merchant in Phandalin. I can't talk. They come across stolen shipments from a merchant in Phandalin that they can take back to the merchant. I apologize. I'm going to be clearing my throat all morning. But the party, my party, did not take the shipment back. And when they got to Phandalin, they bumped into the merchant, who said, "Oh, hey, I'm missing some stuff. I'll pay you guys to go pick it up." And I had one of my players roll a history check, and they were like, "Oh shit, we left it back at the cave. I guess we'll go back." And instead of having my party just wander back and not encounter anything, even though they cleared out the area, I ran the first part of the book again as like, "Oh well, the goblins came back. It's really that simple." But I mean, they were of higher level. It wasn't a big deal for them, but it still made it interesting enough. Um, and fun fact, my party showed up at the cave without a wagon. These shipments are large enough that they do need a wagon. They can't just carry them back. So that led to the interesting decision of one of my players had to leave and go all the way back to Phandalin, get a wagon, and come back, while the rest of the party sat in the cave. And players do what they normally do, and they split themselves up. And one encountered more goblins than he could handle, and things went from there. Uh, but during that whole time, I have to improvise and yes and to what they want to do, because if I say no, um, that shuts them down. That makes them feel like they don't have any decision making power. Um, the key point to take away with yes and is that you accept what your players are giving you and you add to it. So the key point, I feel like I'm going to be repeating phrases all morning. Hang on. My brain is still coming online, so bear with me. I guess the most important part is at the very start of that campaign, when my players decided, "Oh, we're not going to do the quest that I prepared. We're going to go back and fetch this stuff that we forgot in the cave." Okay. Um, yes, you're going to do that, and I am going to repopulate that area with goblins and stuff to make it interesting. So it's just not a, you go to the cave, you pick up the stuff, you bring it back. All right, now what are you doing? Because that seems boring. That's very boring. Um, and like when my players had to go get the wagon, I had to yes and their decision about it all. All of them could have gone back to village to get a wagon. None of them could have gone back to the village, and they could have said, "Fuck it, we're gonna shove these giant ass crates all the way back to Phandalin." And I would have been like, "All right, you're gonna be rolling strength checks for the next, I don't know, 20 minutes to get it through the cave, get it through the woods that you're in, get it on the path, all the way back to Phandalin and to the merchant." But that's that. Yes, and there is a video that I recommend by Dingo Doodles that is actually her fiance, husband. I forget exactly. Her DM, Felix, who goes into explaining more about yes anding, and he does touch on the 4 different like yes and categories. There's yes anding, yes but, no anding, and no but. Um, so I'll just cover this as briefly as I can. In improv comedy, you always want to say yes and. You do not want to say no and. No and means you shut things down and you double down, essentially. No, we're not going to go to the cave, and you're stupid for making us think we were going to do that. Yes and is always, I accept your energy and I'm building off of it. Yes but is, yes, what you said is true, or we're going to do it, but I have this conflict. You can still add with a yes but it's not, it doesn't impact as effectively. Um, no but is still useful in improv comedy. You can say, no, I don't accept that, but you have a point, so we can still work off of your energy that you gave me. In D&D, as a DM, you want to say no as little as possible. My rule of thumb is I let the dice decide whether or not my players can or can't do something. If I'm going to say no, that isn't purely a plot device that could potentially get my players killed, it's going to be all right, you can try, roll the dice. If it's a 1, I guess you're not doing it. I would rather the dice be the one at fault than me constantly saying, no, you can't do this. No, you can't punch the guard in the face. No, you're not going to steal gems off the person who hired you to do this quest. I mean, sure, it's a game at the end of the day. All my players are here to have fun. So that's basically a general overview of yes anding and how it should be used in Dungeons and Dragons. Yes and is just your key phrase for improvising to build your scenes, build tension, build interactions with your players. Improvising is just that. You're gonna think on your feet, and as a new DM, you really have to get comfortable with improvising. I mean, I would recommend this as an exercise as to set up a, not a full campaign, but one quest, a one shot, of just purely improvising. Start with a key phrase. Have your players give you a key phrase, or better yet, a quick session 0, like a 5-minute session 0, where you and your players talk about, oh man, it'd be really fun to run a heist in a horror setting, or it would be really cool to do a high fantasy big race or something like that. But set up for a fully improvised one shot can take as little time as you want. What you're doing is you're maybe doing like 5 to 10 minutes of research on a fantasy setting, or if you want to make your own, that works too. If you make your own, you're the one who knows all the answers to it. Your players, it can be as simple as, oh, us around the table. I have my players. And then there's the time to play, which is how long do we want to play? Do we have an hour? Do we have 3 hours? Do we have 20 minutes? It's all a matter of what can be done in that time, and you're going to be thinking on your feet the entire time. Oh, pardon me, I went a little ragdoll there. And I'm sorry if I bumped my mic. Again, I'm still waking up, and talking is not really my strong suit in the morning, so you guys are getting a very rare side of me. Going back to the whole being a first DM, if you are worried about having to purchase all the books, you don't. You really don't need all the books. I would recommend that the only real purchase you need to make is for the player's handbook. I would not even recommend the Dungeon Master's Guide. Um, the player's handbook has all the rules you need to play. If you have been a player for the longest time, or even before you started dungeon mastering, you should know that. And I'm not trying to shit on anyone who wouldn't. Trust me, there are plenty of rules in the player's handbook I forget. Like me reading my spells as a spellcaster. I should really, really read my spells. Um, but yeah, the player's handbook has all of your basic rules for how to play. Your movement, your combat actions, your adventuring, and question asking of your DM. Um, the player's handbook even spells out the cycle of interactions on how a game of Dungeons and Dragons should go. Um, Step one, the dungeon master describes the environment, the NPCs, interactions happening in that space, and so on and so forth. Um, Step two, players decide what they want to do in that space. Do they want to talk to people? Do they want to destroy stuff? Do they want to search for treasure? And they tell the dungeon master that. Step three, the dungeon master narrates the consequences and actions of the party. He or she may ask for dice rolls. I'm not actually reading that from a book, so if that sounded professional, hey, good on me. Um, the reason I say that the player's handbook is really the only purchase you need is because the Dungeon Master's Guide, while useful, only really provides guides on like how to structure a campaign, how to create good villains, and also provides like lists of items, their descriptions, their effects, and other additional rules that you can use, but you're not required to use. Um, so, yeah, Player's Handbook is really all you need. And if I'm being honest, you don't even really need to purchase it. You can find the Player's Handbook on the internet for free at any website. If you type into Google and say Player's Handbook 5th edition PDF or free, I guarantee you you're going to find something. If you want to support your local game shop, definitely do that. I, however, do not really want to support Hasbro. WotC is fine. WotC is a good company. There are good people at WotC. Hasbro is being corporate scumbag right now, so I really don't want to give them more money. In fact, I am not going to be purchasing the 2024 Player's Handbook, so definitely pick up your 2014 Player's Handbook. If you have the 2014 Player's Handbook and Tasha's Cauldron, if you have if you have the 2014 Player's Handbook and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, you basically have the 2024 Player's Handbook. So, I apologize. All this clearing of my throat is... I'm trying to drink water, and I thought that would help me, but I think all this talking is not... My vocal cords are not used to it this early in the morning, so... Hope you're enjoying my, like, little zen moments with this avatar, but... So let's talk about setting your first scene as a dungeon master. Your first scene is going to set everything up. And I highly recommend that you improvise things, only to get yourself comfortable with improvising. Like I said earlier, improvising is a DM's best tool. If you look at any interviews with Matthew Mercer, Brandon Lee Mulligan, Matt Colville, Abria Iyengar, I think I fucked up her name. Abria Iyengar? I I'm sorry, I'm very tired. So if I got that name wrong, I apologize. But if you look at any interviews with any prominent dungeon master, even if I didn't mention a dungeon master that you watch, try and find an interview with them. Try and find a point where they talk about their DM style. They will say at any point, I guarantee they will say at some point, something or their plans are flying right out of their ass. And that is a blatant admission to improvising. It's going to happen. I don't care if you planned everything meticulously, your players will find the hole in your ship. I can't tell you how many times I've admitted to my players that I did not have the session planned because they did something I didn't account for. I have 3 friends who have been dungeon masters and have said the same thing, that we as a group fuck their plans because we found the one thing that they didn't account for. So they had to improvise the entire session because they decided to go with it. So building your first scene is building off of your 5 senses. What do they see? What do they hear? And those 2 are the biggest ones. So what do they see and hear? Are they in a cave? Are they in a tavern? Are they outside in the morning? Is it night? Is it raining? Is it foggy? What do they see and what do they hear? Is it quiet? Are they in a library so they wouldn't hear anything? Are they in a cave? Do they hear echoing in a cave? Do they hear dripping of water off stalagmites or stalactites? Are they in a tavern? Are people talking amongst each other, or are they all in a quiet hush because it's, the local baron is being an absolute dictator and just killed a bunch of people that the town liked? Setting your scene is is good for laying the foundation for your players to find leads, and I'll explain more on that in just a moment. But sight and sound are your 2 big ones. Smells are important, but it's kind of an optional thing. Touch is kind of an optional one as well. It's more describing like a unique item or something interesting on like a texture. So like if you say the dungeon wall has a mural that has been etched into it, and you run your hand along it, and you can tell this was not made by a chisel, but a crude drawing made by swords and axes of an army that was once stuck here. That paints a picture of, okay, this was not, an artistry, like an art talent. Oh my god. This was not made by an artisan. This was made by people who were trapped and bored, and it's probably very crudely drawn and not a professional mural. So that covers sight, hearing, sound, touch. Temperature is your other one. That I keep saying the last 3 are like temporary or like not as important, but you as the DM can set the scene as simply as possible. Like I can sit here and say, you are sitting in a room that has tan beige walls. You have a desk in front of you full of objects. It looks like a commoner's desk. It has some documents, some notes, a lot of toys, just to keep a idle mind busy during the day while they work on busy work for their home or their business. Now I added a bunch of fluff there because about the toys, because, well, in my mind, why are toys on a desk? I could have said clearly know that the commoner has a child and the toys get left there because the child always wanders into the commoner's office. You can set the scene as simply as you want. Your players will always ask you for more detail. And as a new DM, do not take that as you are doing bad. The players just are going to ask questions by default. they will always ask questions. Um, I still ask my DM, probably my most experienced DM, who has been doing this for years, about different details, and it's either because I'm not paying attention sometimes, or that I want more detail on, like, okay, what time of day is it? Um, is this person armored? Are they not armored? Um, I think the most recent time I asked my DM for like a additional detail was, oh God, I'm trying to remember because it's been a while since we played with like my long form DM. I'm at a loss for words. We're going through Exandria right now. We're doing an Exandria campaign through Critical Role's setting, members are setting, and God, if he could see or hear the stories of what my character has done, I'm sure he'd be very disappointed and a little bit concerned. um, but um, I think the most common question I asked my DM while we were going through Exandria has been like, I don't know. I'd have to say it's probably is my character paying attention, and his common response is, well, roll a perception check. Um, because my character is a wizard, but she's also a very like spacey wizard. She's gone through a lot of character growth, but she's I still play her very spacey and very stupid. I don't read the descriptions for my spells, which causes problems, but I think it builds her character. But going back to building your scene, your players will ask you questions for more detail. Please do not take it as an insult or something as a sign of you're doing bad. Your players will ask you questions no matter how much detail you will provide, and they might even ask you to re-describe something, and that is okay. That is not a fault on you. They just want to keep details fresh in their mind. So once you build your scene, as simple or as complex as you want, your players will seek out NPCs and mainly interactions to start their own situations. So for this exercise, if you want to do an exercise with me, uh, if we're building a one shot purely as a improv driven one shot, you are going to set your foundation, where you're starting. The most common one is you're starting in a tavern. Go with it. Go with starting in a tavern. It's not a bad way to start a campaign or a one shot, and many one shots do turn into campaigns. Um, your players will seek out the barmaid, the tavern keeper, the barkeep. Um, Bartender was the word I was looking for, but either way, they will search for them. Another common one will be who looks like a noble, who looks rich, um, or who's the biggest asshole in here. Those three are the most common that my party has interacted with. Um, and you can invent someone on the fly. It's also not a red flag or something against you if you want to use an NPC generator. It's not. I do it for mine. I've done it while using it for Shattered. I keep calling it Shattered. I mean Shattered Obelisk. I call it Shattered because that's what I'm titling it on YouTube. It is a live play that we do. But I use a NPC generator for that campaign, and it's worked fantastically. It provides me with extra details that I would not have considered. Um, I'm not terrible at creating characters. I'm terrible at keeping notes about my characters, so things get lost in translation with me. And NPC generators will give you great notes, great great character notes on like height, build, what their facial structure is like. A lot of that stuff will come in handy from the generators if you don't want to spend the time um, making those notes yourself. It's nothing against doing that, but for the sake of this improvised scene, um, you are just building your tavern. You are building the scenario, and either your players are entering the tavern or they're already at a table, and you let them take the reins from there. Um, and they will seek out the barmaid or the bartender, and they'll start their own shit, and you're just gonna go with it from there. Your point is to yes and build off of it, and let the dice rolls really be uh, the driving force in what they do. All right, so we've covered a lot of improv. I honestly thought this would take a little bit longer, but I'm also trying to. I can get very long-winded, so I'm trying to keep things short. Um, so let's go over improv real quick. I'll try to summarize it. Improvising is always thinking on your feet. It is the DM's most important tool, in my opinion. Um, you and I just lost my train of thought. Improvising is the most important DM's tool. Your key phrase with improvising is yes anding. So taking what your players give you and building off of that. But don't forget you are in control of the narrative. So you can take what they give you and also yes and still kind of nudge them in the direction that you would like them to go, but acknowledge that they have choice, and if they really want to do something, they are going to do it. You can have only one real purchase for D&D, and I believe that is only the Player's Handbook. You don't really need the DMG. It is helpful, but you don't really need it when starting. Player's Handbook is really all you need, and if I'm being honest, you can find free PDF versions on the internet. Just go find it if you really don't want to spend any money. Everyone's on their cell phones nowadays. Don't feel bad about using your cell phone as a way to read your Player's Handbook. Setting your first scene. If you are improvising, strictly improvising, or whether you've planned it and have to improvise, your scene, your starting location, your tavern, wherever you're starting your adventure, just build the place, build your bar, build your town, build wherever your players are. I feel like I'm sending a bit of mixed signals there, but wherever your players are starting, build the environment around them. Mention NPCs. Don't make anything concrete until players reach out. Again, this is strictly if you are just improvising the entire one shot. Your players will seek out NPCs. Your players will ask you more questions for more details. That's not a red flag. That's not a red flag on you. And I think the scariest part for any new DM is, oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to. I don't know how to develop characters. I don't know how to build a story. I mean, neither did I when I started. That's really it. I had no idea on how to dungeon master when I started, and when I started, I didn't even play Dungeons and Dragons. I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I ended up at the time I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I was in high school. The books cost $50 at the time. I was in high school and could not find $50 to my name. So what I did was I went on YouTube and I found a live play. I think it was Vogg's. What is it called? I'm gonna look this up because I guarantee you that it's still on YouTube. I think it was Yogscast. Yeah, Yogg's Quest. It was the first episode of Yogg's Quest, and I watched 20 minutes of it. I watched I think I skipped the first episode and went to the second, and I watched that whole session and kind of got the gist of it and went, okay, I know what D&D is supposed to be. I'll just make my own. And then I made my own with the help of some friends, and I missed the mark entirely. I I made something that was a complete bastardization of D&D. I made a game that was a D6 system. I didn't know that D&D. I knew D&D was a D20 system, but I had inadvertently made a game that only ran on D6s. Um, you could pick your race, and your race determined all your stats. I had the stats already planned out. That doesn't sound like D&D. But yeah, I made that whole game, and I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. I wanted to be a player. I ended up DMing. I ended up DMing this Frankenstein game that I made with my friends, and it was broken as shit. It was a broken game, and all I knew was that the dungeon master was supposed to describe scenes, ask the players to roll dice to determine outcomes, and we had fun. We joke that it's probably the most cursed game we've ever played. I still have the documents for it on Google Drive. It's so broken. We affectionately referred to it as VGD&D, Video Game Dungeons and Dragons, because we added a bunch of stuff like stuff from Kingdom Hearts, stuff from like Naruto or whatever. We were big weebs in high school, but yeah, it was broken. It was stupid. It was busted. We also, I forget how it came to be, but I'll finish this and I'll get back to talking about dungeon mastering. I promise. But somehow, in Dungeons and Dragons, when you start your character at level 1, you have maybe like 12 or like, I want to say maybe as high as 15 hit points at level 1. Level 1 in our game had 5,200 HP. Because I thought Dungeons and Dragons had these elaborate, complex math problems for like determining shit. So, yeah, level 1 in D&D, you have maybe 12 to 15 hit points at the most when you start. This game, you had 5,200 hit points. And then there was also magic points, but I'm not going to get into that. Oh my god, it was so stupid. So yeah, if you ever feel like you don't want a dungeon master, or you think you're not going to be good at dungeon mastering, just remember me and my dumbass ability to create an entire broken, very busted system to imitate Dungeons and Dragons, and then I didn't even get to play it. I had to run it. If I can run a completely different game that my friends enjoyed and liked to play, I dare say we still want to play it, but we haven't touched it, but it's fond memories. So we've talked a bit about improv. Let's go over setup. How much setup should you have as a dungeon master? Honestly, that is a comfort level thing. That is purely up to each individual dungeon master. If we're going with setting up a purely improvised one shot, research real world topics. Beg, borrow, and steal from what you like. Steal from books, steal from TV shows. You're playing this at home, I assume. You're not going to stream it like me or put it on the internet. If you're going to do that, just bear in mind that copyright law exists. Names, places, and locations can get trademarked. If you're going to use Dungeons and Dragons settings, stick to Faerun, Eberron, Spelljammer, Greyhawk, and Dragonlance, the established settings. If you want to make your own, again, you are free to do so. But if you want to use like Westeros, that can get into. I mean, fan-made content is something of its own deal. But yeah, steal from movies, steal from shows, steal from TV, steal from books, comics, anything. It's your home game. You can make it whatever you want. Create from scratch. Definitely start small. Stick to your one shot if you're improvising. You have no idea how many one shots I've done that my players have actually wanted to expand on, that they want to make into campaigns. Um, there's a ton. Um, I'm kind of the one shot uh, guy in my group. I don't want to say like the master or guru or anything like that because I'm really not. But I make holiday one shots. I've done mostly Halloween one shots that my players have really liked, and when I do like a follow up one shot that has players reuse characters, they are ecstatic. They love reusing their characters. They love connecting the dots from last time. Um, I did a Halloween one shot where they were kidnapped by a mad scientist and had to fight Cthulhu esque monsters. And it ended with them fighting a Lich Tarrasque. Because I had to improvise. I'm not going to get into it because it's going to go way too far. But um, yeah. And then the following Halloween, I did another one that reused those characters, and they loved it. They loved it. They were so excited, and it ended up being a like trilogy. I did a third Halloween one shot that concluded everything, and they were so satisfied. They were like, I can put this character down. They had their own like head canon events for these characters that they could honestly could do whatever with. And I had no real involvement other than the one shots. And I love that for my players that they are so happy to use their characters over again and just have fun. So I got distracted. That's a key thing with me. I get distracted easily. So setup. Research your real world topics, your established settings. If you want to make your own, definitely go for it. Start small. Start with your quest, your main quest, your small quest. With that, set up a town, small village. Doesn't even have to be a village or town. You can start with just the tavern or, wherever they're starting. It can be someone's house. It can be one of the players' cousin's house, someone like that. And then what is your quest? What are the characters after? What are they looking to do? Some of that can be ironed out in session zeros. If this is like a pickup game where you didn't have time for a session zero, what are they trying to do? Are they locating a person? Are they trying to find an item? Are they trying to get to a location before someone else? These are all like super basic quests, and they are perfectly fine for one shots. Um, I think the last Halloween one shot that I did was it was a murder mystery, so they had to find a person. But it was a simple quest of they were trapped in a house and they had to either leave or find the murderer. And that devolved into chaos, as many of your quests will do. That's also par for the course for Dungeons and Dragons. If you're going to run D&D, expect chaos. Take your time with it. How do you want backstories involved? If you want backstories involved, definitely pick characters that have items or backstory information to drop them in to your one shot. Getting backstories involved is usually good ways to keep your players hooked, because it's essentially dangling keys that they care about in the story. Um, if a player just doesn't want to acknowledge that backstory material of theirs is in a campaign, I would say that's something on the player, not you. Because if you're dangling what their character finds important in the campaign and they're just not taking it, maybe try making it a bit more prominent. And if they're still not taking the bite, maybe talk to them after the session, or maybe take a break and talk to them. Pivotal characters from backstories don't need to be purely involved. They just have to be mentioned. So, like, your paladin has an uncle who is a evil baron or whatever, and he's caused a bunch of trouble for the paladin in his backstory. And your one shot involves finding an item that at one point passed through that baron's hands. Just by mentioning it, oh yeah, at some point your uncle had this item. Well, now your paladin perked up because it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Fuckface McGee had this item. Maybe I want to pay him a visit. Maybe I want to punch his face in. But that might not be exactly what you were aiming for. But hey, at least your paladin's like, well, now I'm interested. And then finally, rewards. What comes at the end of your quest? What comes at the end of your setting? What do they get out of it? Most common one for my party is a level up. The next common thing is gold, money, and then items. The level up, gold, or items is your top three. A fourth one is like connections, resources, kind of like I'm trying to think of other resources, like I guess a wagon, traveling expenses, free stay, stuff like that will be taken in by your party. But your top three are going to be: did we get a level up? How much gold did we get? How much is that item worth? Did I get any good weapons? But yeah, weapons, items, gold are the big like in-game stuff. Level up. I guarantee you, all of your party members are going to ask you for a level up, and that's just what they're going to do. That is like the big four in doing your setup. When you do your setup, you want to have notes. You want to make sure that you are keeping track of what the players are supposed to be doing, where they're at, and the important bits. Expanding on the important bits topic there, you do not need to have everything fleshed out. Like I said, if we're doing this experiment of improvising the entire one shot, just set your starting location. Build it as you go. Part of the charm of improvising a full one shot is the all that unknown stuff and coming up with names, NPCs, and just on the fly is really a lot of charm to developing one shots, and especially improvising. Again, the more you get comfortable with improvising and thinking on your feet, the more comfortable you're going to be as a DM, in my mind. It's different for everyone, but I think improvising, if the more comfortable you are with that, the game comes so easy to you. The last thing I wanted to explain on rewards that I think I missed was make your players feel like they've earned something. And it could be a one shot, and you may never touch those characters again, but a level up is going to satisfy them because it unlocks stuff for their characters. Like, say, if you do a level 5 one shot, and they're like, "Oh, do we get a level up?" If I was running it, I'd be like, "Well, I don't know if we're going to use these characters again, but yes, you can get a level up. I don't see the reason why not." Maybe I will use them. Maybe I won't. Again, I had 3 Halloween one-shots where people reused characters. So, again, I don't know. And you don't have to know. You don't have to have every answer when you do your setup. Do it to your comfort level. You can have the whole town planned out. You can have all the important NPCs. You can have nothing at all. It's a comfort level thing. If you want to have the ideas, definitely have the ideas written down. Being a dungeon master is very much so, what is your comfort level? I feel like I fucked up somewhere with that talk. Go with your comfort level. Whatever you're comfortable with. For me, when I plan for Shattered Obelisk, I am currently going over, okay, what quests do my players need to do? What's their overall goal? What do I need to keep them on track for? Right now, they are looking for Gundren Rockseeker, and they're just kind of doing odd jobs around Phandalin to find clues for him. Right now, they're stuck out in Canterbury doing the Banshee quest for Sister Garele. And man, do they fucking hate going out there. They hated the trip going out there because I wanted to keep it entertaining. I made it a 4-day trek, and every day they rolled an encounter, but then every night when they took watch, each watch had an encounter roll. Granted, as a DM, and if my players are watching, I do apologize because I made that way too active. Um, I wanted to make it seem like the world was lively, and I think I just threw way too many encounters at them. It's not like my players did not fight every encounter that I threw at them. It was merely a you notice this. What would you like to do? Um, it was not everything came at the players to attack them. It was a you notice this, and you can avoid this if you choose to. But there were a lot of encounters that they were very smart on how to avoid. Um, but my setup there is tracking what they need to do versus what they can do. Um, and we're in this a couple sessions, so I have notes on the town of Phandalin. I have notes on NPCs. I have notes on, um, items that they can find, storyline specific items, so on and so forth. So there's plenty that your players can do, but it's to my comfort level. I don't have everything planned in Shattered. Um, Actually, the reason that I expanded my notes into things that the players can do and not just what the players have to do is based off that session where I planned the one quest and they went and did something else. I didn't plan everything out in detail now. My notes don't encounter everything in detail for Shattered. It's just the outline of the quest. And outlining stuff is good in your notes. But make sure you have notes that you're comfortable with, that you feel you have enough information on. I would say have an outline of your quest and what their goal is. Are they after an item? Are they after a person? Are they trying to get somewhere as quickly as they can? Or what is the specific task? I think that was another big one that I left out. Do your characters need backstory motivation? If you feel like they might, go for it. If they're not biting to it, that's not a red flag on you if you're making it pretty prominent. And definitely make sure you have a reward. Your players want rewards. Your players want to feel like they've earned something. It's a game after all. You wouldn't want to do a big old quest in World of Warcraft by running around and just not getting anything. Especially if it gave you like, I don't know, 10 copper when most rewards in WoW is like gold of some value. But yeah, that is mostly setup. Setup is a lot shorter because it is specific to each individual dungeon master. There is, again, I want to reemphasize, anyone can be a dungeon master. I can be a dungeon master. My fiance has DM'd a one shot. She has been waiting to DM another one. And our schedules are just packed because we all want to keep doing one shots and campaigns and whatnot. But my fiance had never touched Dungeons and Dragons until we got together, and her first thing when she got into Dungeons and Dragons was made a shit ton of characters. She has a roster of characters that she is waiting to play. But she's DM'd a one shot. She had a good time, I think, until my friends kind of fucked her over. So two of my friends, one of them being our like forever DM, he and another friend of ours both rolled divination wizards that had portents, so you can kind of see where that went. They really fucked with her towards the end of her session. But yeah, anyone can be a dungeon master. If I can be a dungeon master in high school and completely miss the assignment entirely, so can you. You can be a dungeon master. You can be better than me. Yeah, definitely find the PDF online, because when I was in high school, that was back in 2010, 11. Yeah. time where the PDF for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons was not readily available. In fact, I don't think it was even out yet. So, yeah, get comfortable with that, with the player's handbook. Get comfortable with the rules. Get comfortable with your setting. You can work with as little or as much as you want. Just expanding on the whole improv aspect. A couple of friends of ours came in from out of town. They live in Colorado. I ran a completely improvised one shot for them, and I started the session with like a fucking Mad Lib. Oh my god, the things they said. It was possibly the most cursed one shot that I cannot repeat because A, we were drinking, and B, it's a Mad Lib. I'm asking for suggestions and verbs and adjectives and nouns. Do you think it would be a clean one shot? Yes, it was cursed as hell. I cannot repeat the things that we said in that one shot. But they had fun. They laughed their asses off when I announced, when I had like the big spiel to start off the one shot, and it was stupid. It wasn't even that great of a one shot, if I got to be honest. It was a heist that got bogged down by combat, and then after that combat, I strictly switched it to puzzles, and they still had a great time. They loved it. I even worked. I even played with two of my bosses, like my direct boss and then the boss above him. They were there for that. Now, I was not working with them at the time. Like, I did not. Let me clarify. I worked with old bosses. My old bosses were at this session with my friends from out of town. They were at this session. So don't think for a second that I did this shit and got away with bosses that I currently work with. I'm working with them now. Like, I went back to that job, but just be careful with who you play with and know your assignment. But when I improvised that entire one shot, it was based off of a Mad Lib. I pulled from this dumb Mad Lib that I came up with. And if that's how you want to start a campaign, great. If you want to do it, all power to you. So we've covered setup, we've covered improv. Our final thing we will cover today is players. The players, the people you need to run a one shot. You can technically run a game of D&D by yourself. You can either just be judge, jury, and executioner on that one and just play with yourself, I guess. There's a joke in there somewhere. Or you can use ChatGPT. I don't recommend ChatGPT. I've done it. It's a little wonky. But I'm getting off topic. Sorry, I'm tweaking out again. So players, definitely, if you have the time, make a session 0. Making a session 0 sets all your ground rules. You explain what homebrew rules you're going to use, what rules you're changing from what's in the player's handbook, and go over backstories and interactions or connections that players have from the get-go. So if players want to know each other, you can do that. And make sure they want to be there. Settle on the theme of your game. You don't have to tell them, and please don't tell them the exact plot line of the game, but like, is this going to be a heist? Is this going to be a horror game? Is this going to be hack and slash where they're just going to be killing things? Let that be known to them. What's the genre? Is it going to be a mystery? Is it going to be political intrigue? If someone shows up for hack and slash and they're getting political intrigue, I guarantee you they're going to half-ass the game. They're not going to want to be there. And players who want to be there but don't take part in, like... Okay, let me rephrase this. Friends who want to be there for friends but don't want to take part in the political intrigue, or if it's just not their genre or want to be there for that specific type of game, there's no reason that they can't still hang out. Definitely not. They can hang out. You don't have to be the DM that's like, no, I want no distractions. I mean, sure, if they're causing distractions, Talk to them. That is something you'll have to do as a DM. You need to talk to their players. Talk to your players. Explain things to them. um, if you cannot, sorry, I don't know, scratching my lip there. If you cannot have a session 0, you need to explain the setting. You need to explain the intention for the adventure. Don't give away the entire plot. Tell them you are on a quest for this. I intend for it to be a murder mystery. I intend for it to be excuse me. I intend for it to be a heist, a hack and slash, a race against the clock. Your players need to know that. At least the adventure, for sure. You need to tell them your homebrew rules, your ground rules, the changes to the player's handbook if they're familiar with it. This, telling them your change in rules and your ground rules for your session can swat down almost all of your rules lawyer bullshit. You will have rules lawyers. You will have people who say, actually, or rules is written. You have to lay down the law. As a example, I have run a game for, I think it's Descent into Avernus, where you start with a it's either a Descent into Avernus or Waterdeep Dragon Heist, I want to say. I can't remember, but one of the starting quests is that you have to get information from like a thief that's being pursued by a group of pirates. And my players decided to insult and pick a fight with these pirates. And the pirate captain rolled really well on one of these attacks because he got tired of being insulted and just attacked. And he rolled well. He hit my player and straight up knocked him unconscious. Now, here's the important part. I say unconscious, but the roll did enough damage to put my friend not only unconscious, but did enough damage to outright kill him. I, as the DM, did not state that if I knock you unconscious or if I straight up gut you or kill you, that in early game, because this was still early game, you're not dead. You are not outright dead. That was my intention. I thought, I can be the safety net without having to explain that to my players in great detail. You need to. Because when my player got hit and he heard the math of damage that I dealt him, he flipped the switch. He flew off the handle, and reasonably so, because he thought he had died. He literally kind of threw his pen or pencil or whatever he had in his hand down and said, "I'm dead. I'm straight up dead." And I got confused. I was like, "No, you're not. You're unconscious." He's like, "No, rules is written. I am fucking dead. I am unconscious, and you did over half my health and damage." I forget the exact rule. I think it's over half your health once you're unconscious. You're dead. Case in point that he was arguing is like his character was dead. Like, he was not unconscious. He's not making death saves. He's just dead. And he was reasonably upset because I did not convey that if they die, or, I do that much damage, that they are not dead. They're unconscious. So we had to take a moment to calm the table down. I had to calm him down, and we took a break. And I came back later, and I doubled down, and I said, "Okay, if I deal you damage that could otherwise outright kill your character, you are not dead. You will be unconscious." I had to show my hand in that moment and say, anytime I kill your characters, you are not dead. You will be unconscious. Unless you are doing something that I am adamantly telling you, "Hey, this will get you killed. Do not pursue." That brings up a whole other thing that we'll get into in just a little bit, but you need to convey those rules, because something like that could prevent your players from getting pissed off for no reason. That entire situation could have been avoided had I told my player, hey, if you die, if you think you're dead, you're unconscious. Because I'm not going to be a DM who just outright kills his characters unless it's supposed to be like an important part of the game, an important part of the story. But please convey your house rules to your players. You can dodge so much bullshit if you talk to them about your own rules. Last thing about session 0 or now session 0, you need to tell your characters, I'm using the wrong terminology, you need to tell your players if there are any character requirements or restrictions. So like, hey, we're doing a level 5 start. We're doing all Dragonborn. We're doing all Bard. We're doing all whatever. Those are your restrictions and requirements, if you have any. You don't have to have requirements. You don't have to have restrictions. You can start at level 1. But I would say anything above level 1 or, like say, oh, well, my world doesn't have ASMR. My world doesn't have Tieflings. My world doesn't have Dragonborn. You know, you need to make that stuff known to your players. But session 0s are always going to be good. Session 0s clear up so much if you have the time for one. If you're purely improvising a one-shot, you may not have time for a session 0. So when you do that, if you're purely improvising a session, explain the setting and intention of the quest to your players. Lay out your home rules. Lay out what rules and changes to the player's handbook that you are doing. And then also mention, are you starting at level 5? Are you starting without Dragonborns, ASMR, Tieflings, all that other fun stuff? Because clearing that up will save you so much time. And if you have any players that want to be there and are rules lawyers, if they are good players, respectful players, they will not rules lawyer the shit out of you. That moves us on to etiquette. Please be respectful. To anything. Please be respectful of the location you're at. If you're at a friend's house, please don't destroy shit. If you're online, that's a bit of a different story. You're in your own house. You're talking through chat and whatnot. But being respectful is a huge point. It's a big thing. Respect attitudes. If things get heated, it's okay to take a few minutes to let people cool down. I've had to do that in many one-shots that I, again, like that session where I didn't explain properly to my players, if you think you're dead, you're unconscious. He reasonably got upset because he didn't know. And please respect property. My Dungeon Master, our Forever DM, has a lot of extra tools that we have bought for him that he has gotten over his many years of being a Dungeon Master. He has kind of like a elevation tool to show people flying, kind of like a flying square or a flying grid. He has one of those, and he is the only one that I know who has it in our group. So if I were to get pissed off while I'm in his house, I should not destroy that. Either break it and it collapses, so you can take parts off of it. But either way, he's still gonna get pissed if I hit that thing in a fit of rage. So, yeah, be respectful of location. If you're in someone else's house, just keep your anger relative to yourself. Keep tensions cool. How do you do that? You call for your breaks. You talk. You talk to people. You talk to your players. You admit when you have a moment where you're angry or pissed off and you just need a moment to calm down. As a DM, be open to questions. You have to be open to questions as a DM. And definitely my number one tip as a DM, especially a new DM, it's okay to say you don't know something. It's okay to look up answers, and it's okay to admit that you are wrong on something. Um, you definitely want your players to have fun. So admitting something like, oh, I don't know. Um, one, you have the player's handbook right there. Two, Google. Everyone has a phone. Google is your friend. Um, looking up the answers is not a slight on you as a DM. And anyone who gives you crap for having to look up the answers, I would like to see them do the same thing. If they have the player's handbook and DMG all memorized, good for them. You're not them. You're your own person. You're not gonna know everything. I don't know everything. Oh fuck, what was it? I don't know the exact rules um, uh, for lack of a better term, straight death. So what kills you outright in Dungeons and Dragons? I don't know that rule verbatim. I don't know that. I'd have to look it up. I can look it up right now. Rule on I said straight death. Outright death. D&D. Instant death. Wow, I'm fucking tired. When damage reduces you to 0 hit points and there is damage remaining, you die if the remaining damage equals or exceeds your hit point maximum. So there you go. And that's not even from an official source. That is something I clicked on Reddit about. Here we go. Dungeons and Dragons D&D Beyond. What do they say? If you don't have potion left, sorry, but you are dead. Okay, well that didn't help me. Yeah, basically the consensus I'm getting from that rule is if it meet or exceeds your hit point maximum after you've hit 0 hit points, you are dead. And that's what happened to my player. But yeah, I had to look that up. That's not nothing against me. Matt Mercer looks stuff up all the time. Brennan Lee Mulligan has to look stuff up. I guarantee you, every dungeon master you will encounter has to look something up inevitably. You can memorize the entire set of books. It doesn't matter. At some point, you're still looking something up. Yeah, just don't be a dick. Respect where you are. Respect other people's moods and attitudes. That being said, this goes for players too. Players, also admit when you're wrong. Apologize when things get misunderstood. Please respect the DM rulings. The DM is your referee. The DM has say over your game. If you agreed to play this game, you had to agree to the DM making rules, to the DM finalizing things. And if you don't understand, ask. That goes back to the DM being open to questions and answering. That's literally it. DMs. Actually, this rolls right into my next point. Have fun. It's a game. Everyone, including the DM, should have fun. The DM is not someone to beat. The DM is not the antagonist. I tried that early on. It did not go well. Don't do that. Because I tried to be, like, playful antagonistic, and I guarantee it almost always came off as I was being a dick. Because I was just trying to gun for my players. I was trying to gun them down, make things difficult. Everyone's here to have a good time. And honestly, your mistakes, your gotcha moments, your I don't know, those moments can make the story better or more memorable or more fun. Yeah, your etiquette is paramount. Players and DM. But Vistra, what if they're a dick? Well, tell them to leave. If you have a player or a DM that is just being a straight up asshole and a dick, talk to them first. try to get them to stop. But if they're just gonna double down and stick with it, you don't need to deal with that. Tell them to leave. Again, it's a game. You're here to have fun. You're here for a good time, not a long time. And if you get it to be a good time for a long time, hey, I think you won. I think you won the game. That's literally all that I have on my notes here for being a first-time DM. And yeah, I guess we'll do a quick summary of everything. Starting from the top, improvising. Think on your feet. Please get used to it as a new DM. I feel like you will be so much more comfortable if you are used to thinking on your feet and you have no idea how often you go from, all right, I've got this all planned out. Oh my God, I'm thinking of this on the fly. It will happen. It will always happen. No matter how much planning you do, you got to get used to it. I still don't get used to it, and I've been doing this for 5 years now. Started not dungeon mastering. I guess dungeon mastering. Fuck, I don't even know how long I've been doing this. But I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons like more consistently for about, I was gonna say 4 to 5 years. No, it's been longer than that. When did we start? Oh my God, was it 2014? Holy shit. I think I've been doing this for almost a decade. Oh my God. I'm old. Yes, as a DM, improvise. Please get used to thinking on your feet. It's going to happen a lot. And I honestly think that is the scariest part of being a dungeon master. Is the fact that, oh fuck, I have to think on my feet. Oh fuck, I have to come up with this on the fly. Oh shit, I have to think of an item to give you. I gotta be honest with you. I had a player in Shattered Obelisk. My players took over Tresendar Manor, the old broken down mansion on a hill outside of Phandalin. They took over that mansion. My fucking player asked me straight to the point, hey, what's the house's value? What's the market value on that house? And I literally told him, how the fuck should I know? This is Faerun. I don't know what the housing market is in Faerun. Why would I compare it to real world? Why? If he wanted a real answer, if he doubled down on it, sure, I'd have given him some made-up answer. But he was fucking with me. That was the point. But like, if they're gonna double down on that, I guess you're gonna come up with housing market prices. I did not want to do that. And I think it was also in a similar situation to where I'm at now, like kind of really fucking tired, that I was like, bro, I don't know. I didn't want to think of that. Yes, improvising. Think on your feet. Yes, and always build off of what your players give you. Let the dice decide whether they do or don't do something. If they succeed or not. Let the dice be the final say, and you back that up. If you have to say no, let it be for something that is going to get them killed, and you don't want to lose them. You don't want them to be pissed off. Also, it's okay to show your hand sometimes. The only real purchase that I think you need as a new DM is the player's handbook. You really only have to go off that. If you want the DMG, you can do that. It's not going to hurt you. If you want to run purely off of improv, if you want to get comfortable with improvising your shit, come up with your first scene on the fly. Your first scene is going to be how your players come together. Do they find themselves in a tavern? Are they in the center of town? Did they just get to town? Set that first scene. Let your players start. Set the scene and let your players go wild. Just let them loose. You'll build shit as you go. One other thing I'll throw in there is try to organize who you're following. Only one person can talk at a time before you get super overwhelmed. But yeah, improvise. Set your scene up. Let your players go, and prepare to blow shit out your ass. That you are gonna do that every time. Set up. If you're setting up a one shot, make notes. What's your tavern like? Who's all there? Does it have one barkeep and one Barmaid. Does it serve food? Does it only serve ale? Do they have rooms? Um, you know, keep those notes in mind. You don't need much, especially if you're starting very small. If you're a DM, start small. Don't build a whole world. Start with your first location. Let your players run wild. You'll build it as you go, and they'll have fun helping you. I guarantee it. What's your quest? What are they there for? You don't even have to have that all planned out. But yeah, what are they after? Does the barkeep want them to kill rats in the basement? Does the barkeep keep losing shipments of beer? What item, location, person are they looking for? What tasks do they need to do? Do you have to get your players' backstories involved? If they're not paying attention, maybe you need to. And then rewards. What are they getting out of it? Are they going to level up? Are they going to get gold? Are they going to get weapons or items? Are they going to get some of that beer if they get the beer for the barkeep? They get his new shipment? I guarantee you they'll want that. Make them feel like they've earned something when they finish that quest. And then players, your etiquette. DM and player etiquette. Try to have a session 0, lay your ground rules. If you don't have time for a session 0. And when I say session 0, I mean a full session dedicated to coming up with your players, getting your ground rules set, and building off of what the one-shot or possible campaign could be. You have to set those rules. If you don't have time for a session 0, give them the gist. Tell them what the quest. Tell them what the quest's goal is going to be. Let them decide. Oh, hey, does this sound like something I want to do? Now let's do something else. Explain the setting. Is it Faerun? Is it Hogwarts? Is it fucking Westeros? Who knows? This is your home game, I assume, so it can be whatever you want. Lay down your home rules. Please do that. Please explain what rules you're changing. And any character requirements or class restrictions or whatever, or character restrictions or world restrictions or whatever. Are you starting at level 5? Are you starting at level 20? Are there no humans? Are there no paladins? Are there no whatever? You gotta share that. Don't be a dick. That goes for both sides, DM and players. Don't be a dick. Please respect DM rulings. Please respect that your players are going to ask you a shit ton of questions. Half of those questions are going to be, wait, what was that? What does that person look like? What are they holding? What's this place look like? What's the name of the tavern? What time of day is it? Is the guard looking? Is the guard on shift? Is the guard wearing armor? Is it metal armor? Can I cast heat metal? I want to steal the guy's purse. I want to steal this guy's gold. I want to punch him in the face. All of that. You will juggle all of that. I've been doing that for years. My DM's been juggling that for years. It will happen. Get ready for that fun. And it is fun to be the DM. Honestly, I don't always want to be the DM. But if no one wants to be the DM, I will be the DM. Why? It's fun to be the DM. You set the ground rules. You get to be the person who says, okay, you're dealing with this encounter. My last session in Shattered Obelisk, when they were on their way to Conneberry to deal with the Banshee, I kept rolling on these tables at night. I mentioned this earlier. I kept rolling on these tables at night for their watch. One of the most reoccurring encounters was, I think, 1d4 plus 2 Sturges appear. I did not make these Sturges hostile immediately, because Sturges have wings. Sturges fly. I think they're an aberration. I'm not sure. Let me check this out. But Sturges fly. They are blood-sucking little bastards. They're monsters. They're a beast. But yeah, they are little blood-sucking little gremlins. They're essentially a giant kind of furry mosquito. But they have these like leatherish wings, kind of like 4 of them. And my description was, you hear a familiar flapping of leather wings, and I cannot tell you how much my party got so sick of hearing that description because the table kept having them show up. They did not interact with them all the time, but they did, however, um, keep encountering them. They didn't fight them, not all the time, but they did keep encountering them, and they got so sick of hearing them. Um, Another encounter was they got so sick of goblin patrols, hobgoblin patrols, and I think it was mostly goblin and hobgoblins because we didn't have too many bugbears. But they got so sick of them that my bard, when they were trying to sleep, my bard cast shatter on them, and I rolled up like seven hobgoblins had rolled up to our party when they were trying to long rest. My bard cast shatter, and most of these bugbears did not make good saves. She killed 4 of the 7 hobgoblins and severely injured the remaining 3. And all she kept saying was, I am trying to sleep. And that's all she had to say. And she made an intimidation roll. I think she got like a 19 or a 20. She rolled high. And they fucking fled. And I gave her experience points for that. That's how that works. That's fun. I had fun. They had fun. And it became a meme for our group. That's how you have a good time. Because I didn't plan how many hobgoblins were going to show up. That was a table, and then I rolled what the table recommended. That was it. That's all you do. That's a good time. That's fun. And you get your own memes. You have your own in-jokes. And hey, my player also got experience, so she's not going to complain. At the end of that session, they did get a level up. They argued for a level up, but it was justified because they had a lot of good rolls. Half their level up came from all the encounters I threw at them. Because even if they didn't fight every encounter, they had a clever way to avoid the encounter. And you have to reward that too. Reward the clever decisions. Reward if they outsmart you. That's what they're doing. That's what half the adventure is outsmarting what that world throws at them. And I'm repeating what a bunch of other DMs have said too. You go look at any other dungeon master. Matt Mercer and Brennan Lee Mulligan have their own short dungeon master series on YouTube. I think Brennan Lee Mulligan's is DM Academy and Matt Mercer's is behind the DM screen, I think. I don't know. If you look up Matt Mercer Dungeon Master Guide or something like that, you should be able to find his videos. I'll do a quick look. Matt Mercer DM Guide. What do we got? GM tips with Matt Mercer, and then I'm pretty sure Brennan Lee Mulligan is DM Academy or Adventure Academy. DM Academy is from Enter the Dungeon. Adventuring Academy is with Brennan Lee Mulligan. Yeah, Enter the Dungeon's another good one. Matt Colville has a long series on how to be a GM, how to prepare. You're gonna bump into people all over who talk about this stuff. I am mainly an echo chamber. I am repeating what others have said, and a lot of it is true. I want to help people get used to being dungeon masters because it's not as scary as you think. Honestly, I think these 3 topics are what new DMs kind of fear the most with getting your feet wet. And the reason I started with improving was because you're gonna do that every time. It's that tool that you always kind of default to. Your setup is just as important. Something I'll tack on to the setup is notes. You're going to be taking notes when you play. You're going to be taking notes when you're done. I mean, I think it's like a minimum of a half hour after every Shattered Obelisk session that I am writing down notes of what happened for a recap. just so that I have it fresh in my mind of what happened. Um, uh, yeah, my bard's in the chat, so I know you're trying to sleep. I'm trying to be quiet. Um, yeah, it's all meant to be fun. Um, make sure you take notes, improvise, think on your feet. If you can't think on your feet, and like thinking on your feet doesn't mean that you have it ready at a moment's notice. It takes a couple minutes. For God's sakes, you're human. You're not Baldur's Gate 3. You're not Larian Studios. You're not a fucking computer. You're not Skyrim. Anyone who gives you shit for not knowing the answer right off the bat is just an asshole. It's a game. Have fun. I can't stress that enough. I've had so many games where we didn't have fun because either I tried to be antagonistic or I didn't explain something or, um, you know, something just went wrong that I didn't account for. Or I got in my own head. That's another thing. Don't worry about getting in your own head. It's not going to be a problem. Um, I cannot reemphasize this enough. It's okay to say I don't know. It's okay to look up answers. Definitely admit when you're wrong. It squashes so many things. Um, as a DM, I will kind of. This is a personal take. This is a personal take. So take it or leave it. Um, as a DM, I try to make sure that my players are having a bit more fun than me. You making sure that you as the DM have fun is still important. It's a game. Everyone should be having fun. But I definitely want to make sure that my players are having more fun because if they're having fun, I succeeded. I feel like I've succeeded. Um, yeah, that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about today. This stream might be a bit more on the shorter end. I can only repeat these things so often before it becomes fucking a dead horse. So, yeah, if there's any questions or anything like that, I guess throw it in the chat. I love you too. um, yeah, if there's any questions, throw them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm gonna be throwing this VOD on YouTube tomorrow when it's ready. I'll also be breaking this up to kind of try to summarize what I've been talking about. I want to try and do a lot more Dungeon Master stuff. I think being a Dungeon Master is really fun. The creating side of being a Dungeon Master is really fun. I've been meaning to do something like this for a long time. So these streams will be very early in the morning. I currently get up at 3 in the morning, have to be to work by 4 in the morning. And guess what I'll be doing at 4 in the morning? I'll be doing this. Just because it works for my schedule. It keeps me busy and having fun. So, yeah, this is me. Hoping to do a bit more with Dungeon Master stuff. Not die as I go ragdoll. Oh boy. Yes, I will double down as my final note. Please get used to improving. Please get used to blowing shit out your ass. If you're physically blowing shit out your ass, you might want to go see a doctor. Yeah, I think improvising is one of the scariest things for a DM. You got to get comfortable with that because it's literally all you're doing. From a new DM perspective to a forever DM, you're always doing that. You're always blowing shit out your ass because you're always leaving your prep. once your players find that hole in your system, or they even if they do railroad and follow things exactly, they're gonna find that one thing that you do not know about, and you're just gonna be like, "Fuck." All right. So yeah, get used to thinking on your feet. If thinking on your feet is something that you don't feel you have the confidence to do, maybe being a dungeon master isn't for you. I don't really want to say that though. I think anyone can do it. If my dumbass that forgets constantly can do this, you can do this. I guarantee. So, all right. I think I've been preaching enough. I think that's gonna do it for me. Where am I at on time? Yeah. I wanted to go longer. I was hoping to make this a bit longer of a session, but hey, this is my first step into this, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a like if you made it this far. I know long form content is a bit of an amalgamation on there, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a bit more confidence, or at least a bit more. Yeah, we'll go with confidence. Yeah, go with confidence. Hope you have confidence now about being a dungeon master, and I hope this kind of cleared things up for you. And honestly, these 3 things that I covered today are probably enough to do a one-shot if you wanted to, and you don't get better unless you try. So get some friends, make some jokes, and I guess have fun. God, what the fuck is wrong with me? I guess have fun? No, you better have fun. Go have fun. Laugh at each other. Make some fucking memes. Shatter an entire fucking squad of hobgoblins and yell at them that you are trying to sleep, god damn it. And you put the fear of God into them. Alright. I am Vistraz. I am the reason for your satanic panic, and I'm gonna go panic in a corner and probably get a nap. So I will talk to you all later. Have a good one.